Next up, I'm going to invite Helen. It's a privilege to invite her up to the stage, and she is going to tell you about a practical way that you can all put into practice what we've been hearing about over the last 24 hours, about how your church and how you can start to make that difference in your communities and in your churches. Helen.
Thanks, Gavin. I just want to use one of my 15 minutes first just to pause and reflect and just center ourselves again, because we've had a lot of talks this morning and we've had a lot of discussion and there's a lot of information. And I don't want to bombard you further. So we'll just spend a minute just being quiet. Okay, thank you. As Gavin said, I'm here to talk about scientists in congregations. Just for my benefit, could you put your hand up if you've heard of scientists in congregations before? Excellent. Could you put your hand up if you've applied for a grant before? Could you keep your hand up if you've received a grant? Great. If anyone has any questions at the end, go and ask one of those people with their hands up. I'm the communications manager at ECLAS. I've been with ECLAS for 5 years. I've had the pleasure of working with 4 cohorts of grant awardees in that time. And in my view, it's one of the loveliest kind of programs that we do, because everyone is so nice. And I always come away feeling really inspired about what people are doing at that kind of more local level. But to go back to the start, and for the benefit of people who have no idea what I'm talking about, ECLAS, as Bishop Richard and Catherine have said, is this program based at St. John's College at Durham University and at York University, and embedded in the Church of England. We're an ecumenical project, though. We work across all Christian denominations. We work on this 5-strand model. And we cover a broad range of scientific topics. So we've done conferences on things like gene editing, neuroscience, AI, fracking. We've got one coming up on ocean plastics. And our vision is to equip church leaders to engage with science and get a grasp on the science. But we also want to show what's possible when churches embrace science as a gift from God. And that's where scientists in congregations comes in. In a nutshell, it's a grant program which gives local churches the resources and support to run a project which engages creatively with a scientific topic. That should be in partnership with a scientist who's in the congregation or who has strong links with the congregation but is in the community. Churches can apply for up to £10,000, and you can use that to host an art installation, produce resources, stage a family fun day. The sky's the limit, really, with what you can do. But it's also much more than that. We found that from 10 years of awarding these grants, these projects aren't only a brilliant way to draw people into church who otherwise, they wouldn't normally come. They're not only a brilliant way to strengthen relationships across the congregation and community, but they're a really important opportunity to show scientists of faith that they are valued, not in spite of their vocation as scientists, but as full people. And we've had feedback from scientists who've said things like, I used to feel like I had to leave my work at the door on a Sunday morning to come into church because I didn't feel like my church was interested in or approved of my work. And I don't know, maybe some of you in this room can identify with that. So this program is also about affirming scientists like yourselves and giving you the chance to share your gifts with your faith community. As well as the money, we host awardees at a retreat in Durham at the start of the program, and we have a reflection retreat at the end as well to kind of celebrate everything that everyone's achieved. These are really fun gatherings, and they're really important, and it gives awardees that chance to meet each other and share their goals and their learning. Our approach isn't to fund projects that are a tried and tested format and have worked before and are a safe bet. We want ideas that are a little bit risky, that are trying something new, and we know that there's a high chance they probably might not achieve everything that they set out to do, but they'll learn something along the way that we can all benefit from. I've put some stats together of the 76 grants that we've funded so far. So of those, 8 have been local ecumenical projects, 7 have been national multi-church projects, 61 have gone to local churches, and of those, 19 have been at cathedrals or historic churches. We've had some denominational diversity. You can see that we've had a lot of Anglican projects. We've also had a lot of local ecumenical projects. We've had kind of increasing numbers of Baptist and Roman Catholic projects. And then we've had some really broad areas of science covered. And I apologize for the tininess of the font there. But and some of the projects covered more than one area of science, so there's more than 76 there. But 34 projects looked at that science-faith relationship as a whole, and they were investigating how science and Christian faith can work together. 20 projects have looked at climate, environment, sustainability, that sphere, and that's quite interesting because when I was looking at these, I was putting this chart together, that's really in the last half of the time that we've been running these grants that suddenly churches are much more interested and engaged in these topics and willing to kind of do more on them. 4 have been on physics, 1 on archaeology, 8 have been on biomedicine, physical health, and 5 on mental health, psychology, and neuroscience. 4 have covered creation, evolution, life on Earth, 2 on geology, 3 on AI, and 4 on space. And I'll just give some examples of the projects. I was going to phrase this my highlights, but I don't want to offend anyone in the room who isn't included. And it's partly just what we've got photographs from as well. But here's a flavour of some of the projects that we funded over the years. So this is a project called Wild and Wonderful, run by Petra Crofton down in Gloucester. And she's had, I think, 3 scientists and congregations grants over the years. And the funding goes towards putting on events for young people and teenagers to get outside, explore nature, do science experiments, and also to producing resources. So Petra has written books on science and faith that are now being translated into French and Dutch as well. We funded churches to do kind of messy church does science, family fun days. Gavin will be able to tell you about wonder days that he's done, where families from the local area are invited into church to do fun, hands-on experiments, learn about science, but there's also those opportunities to talk about God as well. I know we've got people from St. Albans. Give me a whoop. Have they left? We had someone, hey! Couple of people from St. Albans. They've done a really cool project called Take Your Vicar to the Lab, where vicars were willingly taken to labs to see how science is done, meet scientists, see what they do in their day-to-day life. And the culmination of that grant was taking them to see the Large Hadron Collider at CERN. And you can see the wonderment on this lady's face. She's having the time of her life. We've funded big art installations, we've done light shows, we funded cathedrals to have Gaia and hold big events about thinking about sustainability, thinking about what the Bible says about looking after the earth. And we funded Riding Lights Theatre Company in New York to do 2 plays. One was around Job and this tour of creation that God takes Job on. The second was about AI and can you build a moral robot? And these productions toured the country, performing in various venues. It was a 1-act play both times. And after the interval, there was a panel discussion with local scientists, so the audience could kind of think up questions during the play and then have the chance to actually ask scientists and have that discussion going. So they've been really good as well. Now, you might be thinking, good for them, that sounds really good. Sounds like a lot of work, and I'm a very busy person. Well, yes, they can be a lot of work. You'll hear a little bit from Claire and Elaine straight after this about the project that they've done and how they've kind of managed it between them. If you decide to do a project, that will be determined by the resources that you have in your congregation. Not every church will be able to do a 3-week-long festival with different things every day. Some churches do things that are much smaller, but actually much more contextually suited to where they are and who their congregation is. We asked for 2 co-directors to kind of lead the project on behalf of the congregation. That doesn't mean they have to do all the work, though. You can get volunteers to help you. And ideally, one of those co-directors would be a scientist. By scientist, you can be a science student, science teacher, doctor, technologist, engineer. We're quite flexible. I don't know what the Christians in Science definition is of a scientist, but it's a broad church, as it were. And the rewards of doing a project can be huge. So we've had feedback from previous awardees that putting on events or outreach activities drew hundreds more people into the church than would usually come. And they've come with opportunities to talk about God. It's a chance to overturn expectations that a church isn't the place to encounter these issues. And churches have been able to engage much more deeply in thinking about topics like creation care, life sciences, and AI. Now, I hope you're a little bit intrigued. I hope you're interested to find out a bit more. And the good news is that we're currently accepting applications for these grants. The sad news is it is the final chance to apply. There won't be any more after this. And if you've applied or thought about applying before, we've streamlined our application process for this round. So all you would need to do at this stage would be to write a short email expressing your interest with sort of an outline of your idea, who you'd want to target, who your co-directors might be, and then we would shortlist those and ask people who've been shortlisted to do that fuller application after the new year. So if you're interested and you think, oh, but I don't have time to sort out all the details, you don't have to have all the details sorted out at this point. Deadline's up there, 21st of November, with an outline of your idea. And my colleague, Gael Pardoen, is the program associate for this, and he's very available to have chats with people if you've got an idea. The grants would be awarded at around Easter time, and you'd have around a year to do them. So if you've got an idea for something that could happen next summer or something that could happen in the next school year, this would be a great time to think about that. Scientists in congregations is one small way to help build spaces of engagement and create confidence in talking about science and faith. And I've had lots of conversations with people already that I know that there's lots more work going on to do just that. And as I've said, Explore, who are coming after, will give a much fuller description of the kinds of projects that happen. I wish I could say, come and chat to me after this, but sadly I have to go and get 4 trains and a bus replacement to get home, so I will have to dash off. I'll leave some flyers on the ECLAS table. You have our URL, send one of us an email, chat to someone who's had a grant, and do have a think and a pray about whether this would be right for you to do. And I'm going to stop there. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, I'd encourage you all to apply for a grant, even if we overwhelm ECLAS with all of our applications and they can't fulfill them all. Just the kind of act of applying for them, getting yourself thinking about what you could do in your church is very much worthwhile in itself. As you saw, there's a few of us around the room who've had these grants, so please come and chat to us about our experiences with them.